Roberts, ABC News political analyst, the best in the business. Good morning, Stephen Roberts. Do we have Stephen Roberts?
Yes, sir.
There we go. Got it. All right, Mr. Roberts. How much stock do you put in all of these stories that the GOP is skittish, GOP ready to pull funds, Reince Priebus is ready to pull his hair out? How much stock do you put in all these stories?
A lot. The polls, look, at this stage, they're just snapshots. They are not predictions. But the national average, Hillary Clinton's ahead by about 7 points. Doesn't sound like much, but remember, Barack Obama only won by 4 points in the last election, so she's close to double what his lead was. You look at the swing states, she's ahead in almost every one, and some by double digits. Colorado, supposed to be a swing state, 14 points she's ahead in the latest polls. So I think that it's very clear that the Republicans below the surface and increasingly above the surface are starting to run campaigns that say, okay, you want Hillary Clinton in the White House, make sure to vote Republican for the House, and particularly for the Senate, where the Democrats only need to pick up 4 seats to control the Senate. And they're going to be focusing on one issue, which is Supreme Court nominations. This is exactly what happened in 1996 when Bob Dole, wonderful senator, lousy presidential candidate, was clearly going to lose to Bill Clinton. By September, Republicans were running ads explicitly saying, okay, you want a Clinton in the White House, make sure Republicans run the Senate to control and check and balance him. I expect to hear much more of that in the weeks to come.
But there so many ways to go with this. He's almost delusional now that he's campaigning in Connecticut, a state that doesn't have a lot of electoral votes and is overwhelmingly Democratic. Why is he wasting 1 second of energy, time, and money in Connecticut when he needs so many other things?
I think it's ego, McGraw. I think that he doesn't understand the difference between the primaries and the general election. The very outrageousness that worked for him in the primaries. Let's remember, even though he's attacking the media today, he got $2 billion worth of free media coverage. How? By being the most eccentric, the most outrageous, the most magnetic, the most powerful voice among 17 Republican candidates. But 2 things have changed. One is, of course, he's now appealing to a general electorate, not the hardcore Republican base that voted in the primaries. And a lot of more moderate, particularly Republican women, are finding his style very off-putting. But much more importantly, when you get past the conventions, voters view these candidates through a different lens. They hold them to a different standard. Things he might have said 6 months ago that people laughed at or cheered at, they're now saying, wait, is that presidential? Can I trust his judgment? And increasingly, people are saying no. And what Trump doesn't understand is the difference. He keeps saying, I'm not going to change. I am what I am. But what's changed are the political circumstances around him. And if he doesn't understand that change, he can't adapt to the politics of the moment.
Stephen Roberts, it's almost like the Republican Party, the establishment, the sanity wing of the party, is in the middle of some type of Stockholm syndrome, right? They're being held hostage by this guy. They can't let him go because he was put in by the voters, and yet they can't stay with him because he repulses them. There's almost nowhere for them to go.
Well, you do have some Republicans who are saying he's so repulsive and so dangerous, I'm simply going to come out and say I can't support him. Senator Susan Collins of Maine did that last week as a very good example. There are others who are saying, if we're going to win the House and the Senate and check and balance Hillary, we have to hold the Trump loyalists and make sure they come out and vote, because if we alienate them, it could be a total disaster. So you're absolutely right. They are caught between the results of the primaries. I mean, Trump won the primaries fair and square, but something you and I have talked about many times. He did it by winning 41% of the Republican vote. A majority of Republicans supported somebody else, and if you look at something you and I have talked about many times, how much harder it was going to be for the Republicans to unify than for the Democrats. Hillary Clinton today is getting well over 90% of the Democratic vote in most polls. Trump is stuck at about 80% of the Republican vote. That means about 1 out of 3 Republican voters who voted for someone other than Trump are not backing him. And so there are many warning signs here for the Republican Party, and that's why under the surface and increasingly on the surface, the panic is setting in.
Never a dull moment. Stephen Roberts, have a good week. Thanks for checking in.
Okay, pal.
7:56, Big 550, KTR.